asking him for recommendations for this project.
Yeah.
Where he just reels off these
totally.
names and where they are and what they're up to. And so anyways, I'm glad you're in town.
Yeah.
I appreciate you doing this.
No, I appreciate you asking me. Totally.
Yeah, so I want to start off by bringing up how I was introduced to you.
Oh, yeah.
Indirectly. So when I started this project, one of the first assignments I was given was to read this book to kind of catch up on all the different perspectives of Friend School over the years and how that might impact this project. And so I was in Chiang Mai, Thailand.
Wow.
And I'm reading through these different essays, and I read yours. And it was just very profound to me because I had just gotten to Chiang Mai and I was trying to figure out how to get around. And this friend of mine who was there she was recommending like motorbikes or different bicycles, or different, modes of transportation. And I read this and I was like, I'm walking Chiang Mai.
Nice.
Because it's all about the value in perspective and kind of connection to your surroundings that you get from walking. And it started off with, it was about how you walked to Friend School.
Yeah.
You and your friends walked from home to Friend School one morning just for the adventure of it.
Yeah. And
it was just turned into this much deeper thing. And you cited this one part which I loved. The gist of the lecture was basically that the more seamlessly we glide between destinations, the less significant everything in between becomes. In this view, we're all masters of a sort of teleportation. We click into cruise control on I-40 or ride on an airplane. The substance of space matters far less than the time it takes to cover a distance. So you also got me thinking about my airline career because I'm a flight attendant and I hop hundreds or thousands of miles between destinations and don't even think about it. And now, I still look out the window of the airplane and try to be a little bit more aware of the ground I'm covering.
Yeah.
And so this was really cool that you wrote this, and it's impacted my life in two totally random different ways of walking through Chiang Mai and flying across the country in an airline career. So
wow.
Yeah,
well, I really appreciate that you
Yeah.
that you read it, and that's awesome that you liked it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's also just a cool sign of the life you're living, and I want to hear more about. Well, first off, tell me about your memory of that experience and what things were like at Friend School, and what got you to decide to walk to school one day.
Well, I hope I gave it proper credit in the piece I wrote here, but I probably didn't. That I think it was either Jamie Hishlin or Cotton was teaching, and it's this is really embarrassing, but I can't remember. It's either, I think it's Henry David Thoreau wrote The Walking, or that wasn't Emerson, that was Thoreau. And we talked about it in class, and we talked about walking a lot. We read the essay, and that kind of made us think about it. I can't remember if I said that or not.
I can't remember.
And so we started. I can't really remember how it all happened to be between my friend group. It was, I'm pretty sure it was inspired by a class we took where we read Thoreau, and that sounds really dorky, but we did the walking in a very non-academic way. We were just kind of let's walk to school. But I think the seed of that thought, the seed of that idea was planted actually in the classroom.
Yeah, I think you did mention that.
Yeah. And we just kind of woke up around 5:30 or 5:30 when it was still dark, and just started walking, and we were kind of carrying on and messing around, and it was just fun. It was really fun, and we walked from Hillsborough, then we walked from Chapel Hill, then we walked from Durham. Is that right? Yeah. Hillsboro, Effland, and Durham.
Okay.
And it was like each time we would go through, we would cut between different roads and things, and we would find ourselves in these like patches of woods between, you know, big suburban developments and farmland or whatever, that were just like very cool, like a swamp with all of these like dead trees rising out of it in this incredibly beautiful and strange way, and a forest of basically saplings that were so close together it was like you couldn't even move. And so you had to go around it, and it was kind of like, it reminded me of reading like Civil War books that Bryce would recommend. Yep. And how, like, you know, when you had to move people or machinery through the woods, there's just like, it ain't easy. And so we were like hitting all these obstacles, and I was like, this is so fun and so weird. So it was a great time. Yeah,
and it's such a friend school thing. And I'm very curious through this project of seeing how friend school experiences during friend school impact you today. Can you give me? We'll get to that. So give me like a snapshot of your life at age 31, because you are up to some interesting stuff.
So I live in New York City and Brooklyn, and I work for a nonprofit news organization called the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. I'm a reporter there, and we do kind of like big global projects where we partner with other news organizations and try to do stories, kind of accountability stories about politics and financial corruption that cross national borders. So all of last year I was working on a project where we had gotten a few million leaked documents from a law firm in Bermuda, and it's a financial services firm that helps rich people and wealthy corporations move their money offshore to tax havens that, you know, let them obviously pay no taxes and also offer them a deep degree of secrecy. And so we published that series. It turned out to be just like way too much work. Like, right. Half of my year last year was a constant miserable grind, but it turned out to be worth it because it was a pretty rewarding project. Cool. And we had a good time too. And yeah, so you know, I live in a little apartment. I have a girlfriend. I mostly just hang out with her and work, and you know, one of my favorite things to do is to come connected back to friend school. One of my favorite things to do is come back here and play music with Tim Wells, who was my, what do they call it, mentor, advisor in middle school. Great. So we still hang out and have a really good time together. So that's partially what I'm down here for.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. We played a little party last weekend.
Oh, you played last weekend?
Yeah.
And what do you play?
I was playing banjo, and so we play like bluegrass, like old time type music.
I wish I had caught that.
Yeah, it was fun.
Do you have video of yourself playing other performances?
I don't. I recorded part of it.
Okay.
Because my boss, I mentioned it to my boss, and he wanted to hear it. I'm not sending it to him because I'm a little bit embarrassed, but I have the recording.
Okay. So what's interesting to me about your work now is that there is this element of adventure and a little bit of mystery that you try to uncover with these stories and the investigative journalism work. I mean, and that seems to me to like, I see the parallels of what you did with the walking to school, with kind of this adventure now, which you covered a few miles back then, and now you're going on like investigative reporting trips to China and other places around the world. Do you feel a connection between what you picked up here and this work you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the biggest. I mean, what I feel mostly is that without the friend school like without having the privilege of going to friend school, I wouldn't be employed, like, at all.
Wow.
Probably like I was kind of a mess when I was a little kid. Like I was like learning disabilities and all this stuff.
Right.
And they took me out of public school and they're like, you have to like go somewhere you can get like more help. And so I got into friend school, and that was great. And then it turned out to be a place that just worked very well for me in a way that having spent years in the public school system, which a lot of people can hack it out, and I wasn't one of those people who could hack it out in that environment. And I don't really know what my life would look like now, but I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, and I would be, who knows where I'll be, but
Right.
And also, yeah, I mean, I think like friend school does teach like curiosity and a certain degree of embracing adventure and discovery and also just there's like a lot of emphasis on basic like writing composition, which I think also helped kind of push me in that direction. So yeah, no, I think it has everything to do with friend school for sure.
What was your answer back then to the classic, what are you going to do when you grow up?
I don't think I think when I was in high school I didn't have much of an idea. I think I'm just trying to think back to what I would have said. I think toward the end of my high school year, I think like when I was in like 9th grade, like just entering high school, I probably would have said like a professional like bike rider. I was like in like trek bikes.
Nice.
Yeah. And then toward the end, I met a lot. I like had a lot of great teachers that got me interested in like books and like stuff like Bryce, Jamie Hishland,
Yeah.
Cotton. So by the end, I was kind of like maybe I want to be like an academic or a teacher. Yeah.
And how long have you been in your current profession?
Ever since I graduated college, so
Oh, wow.
I guess like 8 years now. I started as a fact checker.
Okay.
For like various kind of magazines and publications.
And how does this age feel for you? How does age 31 feel compared to the other ages that you've lived so far?
I guess it depends on the day. Today I'm having a pretty good day, so today feels good. But in general, 31 is okay. I mean, it's weird. It's like like we're obviously living in we're living in cities that are getting less affordable. So it's hard. It's like sad that's the first thing I mentioned. But like it's definitely hard to know where physically, like geographically I'm going to be in 5 years. And yeah, I guess I just don't I haven't totally established like what like my grown-up life is going to look like. Like when I was a kid, I kind of thought like you turn 30 and then you have this kind of life that's the same for the rest of your life, and
Plug and play, right?
yeah,
Right.
and I just don't feel that at all. Like I don't know what my life is going to look like in 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting when I first talked to you, and this may just be your style, but you just have a very like kind of down to earth, grounded approach, and I was like, how's this going? How's that going? And you're like, well, this is okay, and that's okay, and New York's okay, and like you didn't have that like which I appreciated because it wasn't like, oh, I've got it all figured out. And so I'm curious, like, what would make you say everything is awesome, or these elements of my life are awesome? What more are you striving for?
I have an answer to that I don't want to say on camera.
It's off.
Yeah.
Yeah, wink. Oh man,
I-
that's so intriguing.
Um,
Is there a version of it?
yeah, like I think like I think being settled down in like basically a stable, very long-term relationship, having a house that you think you're going to live in for a long time, whether it's a really stable, like, I don't know, I guess I kind of seek stability, right? So it's like, yeah, just all the basic things, like a stable job, house, and geographic location where you're set on being for the rest of your life. I think that would be really fun. Yeah.
What are your fears at this stage?
I feel like as I get older, my fears get very like what I would have considered incredibly conventional and like lifestyle wise conservative when I was younger. So like my fears are just increasingly about like money and not getting fired and like having just having like the basic comforts and like people around. Yeah. Right? I don't know.
Yeah. So how do you cope with those fears?
I don't know. I just try to like, I don't know, just like everybody else, I guess. I just try to like keep a level head and work a lot and yeah, that's basically it.
So it sounds like you go through these different phases day to day, or different levels of happiness day to day, which is normal.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you consistently most look forward to as a 31-year-old?
Look forward to. I feel like it should be easier to answer this question, but nothing's really coming to mind.
It's okay.
Yeah, I like, I always look forward to playing music with good people. It's just such like the normal stuff, just like friends and,
How much does the music fit into your life?
not much now. I mean, there's some people down here that I just love playing with. I've got, I've had a trio with my brother and our friend Sam from Friends School, Sam Huff, and that is really fun when we get together, which is like twice a year because they're around
Down here.
Yeah, we'll get together down here, or occasionally we've played shows, or just meet up and play for a weekend or something. But it's been like very hard to find. I mean, basically the people here in North Carolina are the people I enjoy playing music with. I have a bunch of friends that I've met through music in New York, but we don't play together because they're on a kind of just a different wavelength. It's like really weird. I just can't. They're better than I am at music, and they also just have a different philosophy. And like it's been, I've been trying to start my own thing up there musically for like years and years, and it's just become a big joke. So yeah. So I always look forward to coming down here and playing with people.
What's the joke part of it?
The joke part of it is that, I have made a good number of friends who I hang out with pretty regularly, who are like bluegrass musicians in New York.
Yeah.
And at various points, I'm constantly trying to like con them into like start a band with me again, to try
Right.
to start a band with me again, and that's become a joke. Yeah, like basically a joke between us. That's just a running thing.
That could be like the name of your band.
Yeah.
Let's start a band.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you find yourself asking a core question at this age? Or is there a question you should be asking?
No. No. I don't think so. I don't. I mean, I feel like as I've gotten older, I've gotten more focused on just like getting like practical objectives.
Yeah.
And there's not a big picture question aside from like, yeah, maintenance of like that.
Do you think this is something you've evolved into? One question I'd like to ask is, in a nutshell, how do you think you've changed most over the years? And then on the flip side of that, how have you not changed? And is there this core essence of Spencer that stayed the same throughout?
Oh, that's such a big question.
It's actually two. That's why it's so huge.
Yeah.
So first off, I mean, it sounds like your priorities or your fears or whatever have changed over the years. I'm curious, like, how do you think you've changed over the years into this person you are today?
That is such a good question. I feel like I'm gonna answer it like really poorly now, and then I'm gonna think about it when I'm driving.
Go for it.
And come to like the right answer, or a better answer. Like, I guess when I was here as a high schooler, I like to think, and maybe this is me flattering my current self, that I have become a lot more kind of self-aware. When I was a high schooler, I think I was kind of a jackass, and like whatever a lot of people are, and like not as nice to people as I like should have been. And I think I've become somebody who hopefully is like a little more aware of like what's going on and like the impact I'm having on people. And I also think I've become a person who tries to be just very like practical and focused, where I had kind of like a slightly more of a, I don't know, I don't even know what you would call it, like a high school, college, I don't know, kind of like more like have fun and like whatever oriented mindset. And yeah, I'm I don't know. This is all kind of like, maybe I'm flattering myself a little bit because I like to think I've like changed in these ways, but
Bet you have.
I hope so.
Seems like a pretty nice guy.
I hope so.
And then any sense of like a core essence of yourself that's remained the same?
Yeah, I think like, you know, I think the way like I feel when I'm feeling good and just kind of like hanging out and like looking at the trees or the sky or whatever, like that all feels the same, you know, just like kind of like me when I'm like at rest doing what I want to do is basically the same, just like wandering around, zoning out. You know? I don't know.
Cool. As far as work goes, any interesting new projects on the horizons or adventures? Like, do you come up with these story ideas? Like, I read a story you wrote about um, investigating Trump's ties in
Oh yeah.
China
Yeah.
and like literal physical neckties,
Yeah.
not just ties. But like, how do you come up with that stuff? Is that assigned to you, or do you zone out? This is what I pictured. I picture Spencer like wandering through the woods and zoning out, and then just like being like, I'm gonna go to China and
Yeah.
figure this out.
I have a job now.
Yeah.
I have like a staff job now, so
Yeah.
I have less control over what I write. So I get assigned stuff more
Sure.
now, but I get kind of assigned to find stories in like specific categories. That's what it's been more like over the past, year and a half since I've had this job. That story kind of came through, just kind of like thinking about stuff, and I wrote a brief story, just an online story for somebody about how labor union researchers, people who do kind of international supply chain research, couldn't find Trump's necktie, where Trump manufactures his garments. And I wrote a little story where I was kind of like, this is funny, nobody can find them, and like I'm interviewing these good supply chain researchers who can't find this stuff, and so look at how opaque the supply chain is. Like, you can't even find where presidential candidate manufactures his stuff. And then I was kind of like, wow, that little story I just wrote is like an invitation for a reporter to go look.
Yeah.
And so I got interested. So that's basically, it's like little stories always lead to bigger stories, or the best big stories usually originate in like smaller piece by piece beat reporting. So that's what happened there, and then I just kind of started talking to those same supply chain researchers. I was like, so how would I find this? And they had some ideas where you could start. And I started asking publications for money. And I had just fact-checked a story for the fashion publication of Vox Media. And I tried a few of my usual places, and I was like, nobody's biting. And I was like, oh, well, I know these people at Racked.com, so why don't I ask them? And they were in the market for an election story that had to do with the garment industry, so it was kind of perfect. And I got really lucky on the trip, so it was a good time. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was fantastic.
Thanks. I'm stoked you read it.
Yeah, very interesting. And just again, that you physically went there. And like,
Yeah, that was the best.
Experienced it.
Yeah. That was like basically that was the best travel assignment I ever got. That was just too much fun. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
What made it fun?
Like, I like China a lot. I spent some time there in college and after college, and I hadn't been back for a while. And it was like, it's first of all just like really fun traveling around in outside big cities in China because it's just totally wild. And it's also, I had some good fixers who were, like Chinese nationals who were helping me out and like translating and guiding me around. And there's just like there's like an openness to the society where if you show up in a little town, people are both like, there's like going on kind of long here, but there's like there are like a lot of contradictions in the society. So like they're really open, but also very closed, and so people will just like be so suspicious of you, but overcome by curiosity and ultimately like help you. So we were just like walking around China with this necktie in like these garment cities and being like, do you guys know where this is from? They're like, what are you up to? Well, let me see that tie. And they're like, oh yeah, like check over there, and then check over there, and then people be like, we've manufactured this tie before. So it was cool. It was cool. And then there's like a whole series of steps to confirm it. But yeah, it was just it was a wild trip, and it was nice to be. It's kind of like when it just felt like I was on the right path with the research. Like a lot of the time, sometimes when you travel, even it's like a dead end, but the signals were always good on that trip. It was just and everything went very smoothly. So I'm not sure if that makes sense.
It definitely got me thinking about my own travels through China and going to places like
oh yeah, where have you been?
Wuhan and Guilin and Yangshuo and the curiosity that people have, and that there are these smaller places and villages, and I remember people like picking up my camera and my shoe, and my like just that concept of mind your own business didn't exist, and and it was an important lesson to because that acronym popped in my head of MYOB.
Yeah.
It was an important lesson to learn that may not exist here. And
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
I may just be taking this rule from a different game and trying to apply it to them.
Totally.
And so when you embrace it, it becomes really interesting. And then so many students like just adopted me there. Like, they just were so open. When you talk about the contrast of openness and closeness.
Yeah.
There were so many younger people in China and students that would just.
How long were you there?
About a month.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a while ago, but
Wuhan is pretty intense.
Yeah.
It's just like nightmarish, sprawling, polluted.
It was very different from some of the smaller spots.
Yeah.
So when you you definitely light up a little bit when you talk about that experience and the fun of it.
Yeah, that was great.
Does it give you like an idea of where you want to be when you're 40? I mean, you talked about the stability elements, but as far as the passion side of it, can you think about what makes you passionate now and like what direction that may steer you in?
When I'm 40, that's pretty soon.
It'll be here. I can tell you 31 was not that long ago.
Yeah.
40 will be here quick.
Yeah, no, that's pretty soon. I just, I really like reporting. And I really want to be able to keep doing it. And it's a super rough industry, obviously. And so really, it's kind of lame, but like, I just really hope I have a decent reporting job when I'm 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any advice from me as I turn 40?
God, I don't know. It seems like you're doing pretty good. Finish this.
Great advice.
Yeah.
That's huge advice, actually. Because, this is very much defining my life right now, and I love what I'm doing. And it's almost like, at this point, you're about the 30th out of 40 interviews, and at this point, it's like, do this justice.
Yeah.
So it's actually good, practical advice. A lot of people have very big, broad, arching advice, and you're a very down-to-earth, practical guy, and I appreciate the practical advice of like, hey, let's hone in and finish this one thing.
Yeah.
So,
I have something
cool.
I'm curious about.
Yeah.
Because it's so fascinating that someone goes from friend school, ends up doing the stuff in New York and China, and so I want you to fill in the gap. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey from friend school to New York? How did that happen?
I don't know. I jumped around between. I actually transferred a few times between a few overpriced universities. So I started GW and DC, and that was like I wanted something really different from friend school because I loved friend school, but I felt like I wanted something just totally different, and it was so different.
Yeah.
It was so different. It was like, I mean, it's a pretty scary place. It's like dominated by fraternities. The children of, you know, lobbyists in DC, or, you know, royalty in West Africa, and hedge fund managers in New York. And I was like, I can't take this. I just couldn't take it. It was too terrible. Just objective, like, not just terrible because it was different. I just knew it was bad. So then I went, Guilford College in Greensboro had been my second choice, so I went there. And then that, you know, that kind of like, it was great. Guilford's like it's like an awesome school. But it was just kind of weird. Like, I was like hanging out. I was just kind of like I had friends there, and I was just kind of like drinking too much, and I was like, maybe I should leave here too. So I ended up at Sarah Lawrence, and then I graduated from there, and
Where'd you graduate from?
Sarah Lawrence College. It's a
That's in
little,
New York.
yeah,
Okay.
in Westchester County, and it's like a, you know, it's a little liberal arts school, and yeah, I kind of wanted to. I really enjoyed like writing in college, just like whatever writing I could do, like academic or otherwise, and I wanted to keep doing it. And I got an internship out of college, and I started fact checking at various magazines and stuff, as I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
And I worked for, it was just a kind of a, you know, some people are really like media or journalism requires some skill, but a lot of like common sense, and some people can like really actually be great they're just kind of born to be great reporters right out of the box, I feel like. And for me, it was like a long learning process. Not to say I'm a great reporter, but to get to where I am now, like all those years of kind of working in fact checking and dealing with reporters whose work I was basically examining and taking apart their sources and understanding how they were building stories was just totally necessary for
Yeah.
for me to learn how to do it myself.
Yeah.
And it was like great experience. I worked for two years and some change at a business magazine called Inc. magazine.
Sure.
Yeah, which you see it on the airport stands, like how to make $1 billion. And that was
Hasn't worked for me yet.
yeah, I know, right? Yeah. You see it. And then I was just like kind of like writing like trying to get freelance pitching people the whole time. And I mean, I was fact checking. I started fact checking when I was 23, and I fact checked increasingly less, but all the way up until I was 30. So, and then by that time I was basically freelance writing for the majority of my income, and then I more recently got a job. So it was a very uncertain journey. And for most of the time, I was living on freelance wages.
Yeah.
The fact-checking jobs were part-time, so those paid the bills. But ultimately, the money wasn't very good, and it wasn't the sort of thing, to be straightforward, it wasn't the sort of thing I would have been able to do without a degree of privilege. Like, if I had big student loans to pay off, there's just no way. So that's kind of a bummer.
But what did you like better?
What?
Did you like being freelance or like your job more?
I think I like working a job more. The freelancing, some of the work was really fun. Like when it was going well, it was like really awesome. When it was, because you know you pitch your own stuff, basically do whatever you want. When it's not going well, it's like pretty bad. Like you're sitting around and you're like, like I am a loser. So no, like I don't know, like you know, I have a job now, and I'm like a staff reporter,
Yeah.
so I'm still getting used to that. Yeah, because that hasn't been the case for most of the time I've been out of school. So
Cool.
yeah,
Anything else you want to add?
no, I'm good.
About your life?
I'm good. I want to talk about your life.
What do you want to ask him?
What do you want to ask about my
Ask him
life?
something.
I